Welcome to Toffee TV. It is the Footy Show Daily. Now, do we have some more clarity after the weekend of when the Premier League is going to start? It's an odd one, this, because it depends on who you listen to over the weekend. You either feel like the Premier League's very, very close to coming back or isn't coming back at all, depending on what you listen to. But certainly from the point of view of, I suppose, the football clubs, it does seem like there are definite plans in place, and I think some teams have even returning this week to come back to training.
Yeah, Arsenal, West Ham and Brighton, I think it is, have all gone back today. Albeit there's still some social distancing measures in place for them, but they're training at the training ground, not using the buildings, they're just using the pitches, spaces between them, and they've got their own ball and stuff like that. So I suppose potentially that's a way of doing it, if you maintain your distancing. But you're right, I mean, there was stuff over the weekend, I think you were saying before, Gary Neville was saying he doesn't see how it can, because he's got the messages he's receiving for his hotels and his restaurants are very different than what's being put out for football. But for me, football's will be viewed very differently anyway. We've already seen Formula One have said their season starting in July. The Bundesliga are still going for a May the 9th return to football. They started training last week or the week before. So there's some sporting events that are beginning to put themselves in place.
Just numbers though, aren't they, really?
Well, they are, but I mean, Bundesliga saying May the 9th. May the 9th's very close to 27th of April today. So you're talking, 12 days time? That to me seems bizarre.
Unrealistic to me.
This is what they're saying. Until that happens, then obviously there'll always be an air of caution. We're still in the midst of this thing at the moment, which is why I think a lot of people are kind of going, there's no way this can happen. But I think there's kind of like two things going on here. One thing is, we said this last week, like the moral side of it, and not enough PPE, and people are still dying at alarming rates, and the rate of the rate of infection's 0.9 now, isn't it? It's below 1. So every person you come into contact, you'll infect less than one person. That's what they needed it to be. But then people are still infected everywhere. So there's that side of it. But then you have to like almost draw a line there and go, and then there's like football, which will be viewed totally different than this side. They'll be tested differently. They will have tests, rightly or wrongly. People can be outraged on social media all they want. We can sit here and go, it's a disgrace that footballers will be tested, but nurses may not be. It's berserk, that, when you think of it in your mind. But they will be. Yeah.
No, I just think it's a big distraction tactic, personally.
What way are you sitting at the moment?
Do I think it should come back? No.
Yeah.
Do I think it will come back? Yes.
Yeah.
I do think it's a lot easier to put stuff out there. I mean, the Grand Prix one, to me, just sounds utter nonsense. It moves country to country. How can it honestly say that in this country it's going to do one thing, and this country, unless it's going to go, lads are just putting it on like a couple of tracks. So for that, I just find that to be utter nonsense. I think the Premier League will have something in place, and I think that they want to try and gather momentum. But I find with all this, I find it all to be just so poor on detail in terms of like an exit strategy. I know over the weekend we've had exit strategies from other countries, and they might be a bit further down the line. I just feel like it's a bit like, once you start pushing the notion out there with it being like almost like Chinese whispers, and I think that's what they're trying to create, is that just makes people feel like life's getting back to normal. And like you just said, I don't think life is getting back to normal, because it's great having all these numbers saying, the infections are low. Well, the infections will be low because people aren't meeting each other. But that doesn't mean that the minute you not create normality, but people feel like there's some normality, that infections will just go back up again. This is I just think they've got to be very, very careful about almost like making it feel like things are going back to normal.
But I think the governments have criticised the government, and rightly so, for some of the stuff that's gone on. But, I mean, I've seen something today, Boris Johnson saying we can't come out of lockdown regardless of the pressure that people are saying, right, we need to get back to normal now because of the economy. The economy. It's about people's lives. What you would hope is that while lockdown's there, big chunks of this virus are dying off. That's what you're hoping for, because people aren't meeting each other, and once people who are infected have gone through that incubation period, I know there'll still be carriers who might still have it, and we don't know enough about the virus still to know whether or not it does die off after three or 4 weeks and then it's gone. Obviously, what we're really trying to do is just buy time for these vaccinations, or for treatments even, maybe not even vaccinations. I seen something at the weekend, on Friday it might have been, I read something at Warrington Hospital have changed some of their ventilators and have used stuff that you usually use for sleep apnea.
Yeah, that's...
And it's got rid of it in 2 days.
No, but that's not... I don't think that's got rid of it. I think that's just...
No, it's like... It's
that's just a ventilator. That's how they're dealing with the shortest ventilators. And that's all great. I've got no problem with that. There's a lot of different talk going on about it. But I think that's the problem, is that... I think what it does is... For me, it fuels almost these conversations, and it's like it's a way of like trying to regain control. But what I see at the same time is like, that's great, but wouldn't those conversations be better if they were actually in a there was an actual plan at some point? And I think it's been, don't get me wrong, you don't want to run before you can walk, so you've got to have things in place. I just feel like what I mean by that is that you're trying to keep things quiet, but you know that they're leaking stuff at the same time.
Well, we've got here Project Restart. It's called. I've got the laptop here because the story's on it. Premier League ramps up plans for resuming season. Plans to resume the Premier League season will step up this week in what has been labelled Project Restart. Arsenal, Brighton and West Ham all opened their training grounds to players for individual work on Monday. The league is hopeful of a potential June the 8th restart, finishing at the end of July, and that fits in with European competition, UEFA's European competition plans. This means that full training begins on the 18th of May for Premier League teams. There's a meeting on Friday of top flight clubs, which has happened before. Premier League's been suspended since 13th of March. There's 92 fixtures still left to play. All games will be held behind closed doors. There's talks ongoing about making them available free to air.
Yeah.
One issue under debate on Friday will be what approved stadiums will be used and whether there'll be a limited number of grounds or neutral venues. So what's still getting floated around is people aren't going to play their home games which is mad, first of all. However, a return to action still depends on the government's 5 tests being met, especially in increasing testing. It also hinges on the conclusions reached by regular cross-sport meetings of senior medical officials discussing the health protocols for competing behind closed doors. The move was described by a source close to the plans as a quickening of pace and intended to help resume sport within weeks. Dominic Raab said on Sunday, amateur sport won't return this summer due to the level and scale of interaction, but professional sport may be able to return because of the scale of testing that will be introduced. So when that kind of language starts getting used for me, it means that they've got the plan, they know what they're working towards. It's going to be the only thing, my criticism of it, and it is a criticism because, like you've said before, the morality side of it is it shouldn't even be. It's a game of football. It's a sport, so it's irrelevant almost. But the other thing is it? Are they just? What is the motive? I know what the motivation is, but what is the motivation in terms of just creating this game on neutral territory to have all these games? Now, it's going to be like a football bonanza. There's 92 games there that need to be played. Are we talking a 3 o'clock kickoff and a 7 o'clock kickoff in the same venue?
Yeah.
with a turnaround, because we know that venue's been deep cleaned and those players can go in and whatever, or is it, is there a couple?
But how do you deep clean a venue
in between two games?
Two games.
Mm-hmm.
So, in between a game, sorry.
So is there going to be 10 venues then?
And how does, if it is some particular venues, and I've heard, and you'd think it would be new venues. So Goodison, I wouldn't imagine would ever be considered. It's too old. It's not a bright and shiny thing, So then, how? Where's Everton's advantage? What if Everton? So if Everton are playing, I'm trying to think of a team we've got.
Well, we've got Burnley.
Well, let's say we've got
Southampton at home, haven't we?
Okay, let's say we play. No, but I'm thinking of let's say we play. I'm trying to think of one of our away games. One of our away games.
Spurs away. Yeah.
And Spurs is good because they've got a new stadium. Do Spurs play their game at home if they're one of the stadium things, or do teams who play their home games, do they play their home games somewhere else so they don't get a home advantage because no one else is getting a home advantage? These are the things that I'm thinking about.
I've said
if Man City's ground, Etihad, do they play their games at the Etihad?
Well, I've seen something saying about St George's Park on the show pitch. So there's no stands or nothing there. There's just a show pitch, isn't it? But there's a little stand. But what I mean is there's a show pitch, so it's just going to be essentially on a field in the middle of St George's Park. So is that? Do you know what I mean? It's almost like seeing people saying if we can't have the fans, then we shouldn't be able to bother with it. There's no way football's gonna go. Well, there might be a vaccine till January, and that's being optimistic. So we won't play footy till next year. That's not gonna happen. It's an industry that needs to be playing.
No, but at the same time as that though, and I agree it has to come back without fans, because like you've just said, if it comes back in, if we don't get this vaccine or we're not progressing towards a vaccine. But I go back to what I've just said. How is a competition that starts with one set of rules able to finish with another set of rules? UEFA are talking about, or FIFA are talking about, bringing in 5 subs.
So an additional 2 subs.
An additional 2 subs, so that if we've got a lot of games in a short term, players aren't getting fatigued. Well, how does that fit in with what if? And what I mean is we've had the competition so far and we've gone past the halfway stage. So I always think, well, at least if you had to change a rule, that rule would come in halfway through or whatever. Now you're talking about a different set of rules. You're talking about no fans. You're talking about no home advantage. You're talking about changing the number of subs. Like I've just said there, what if we're playing Tottenham away and they get to play at home? I know home advantage is more important when you've got fans there, but they are at home. They get that feeling of being at home. These are the things that worry me for it to be a sort of, a competent competition. Yes, if it restarts, Liverpool will get the 2 wins and they will be the champions, fine. But what about the teams at the bottom? What about the likes of Norwich who really need that home advantage? Villa who need that home advantage. Someone like Sheffield United going for the European places, you need that home advantage, that crowd behind them, that roar to keep them going. We're a club that need it. It's these are the things to me that I just think don't make it a fair competition.
Well, if we bin it, which is an option. I mean, the biggest indicator that could happen happened in Holland on last Thursday or Friday. They said that Friday, I think it was, it's done. No champions. Ajax were gonna, well, you would have said, but probably gonna win the league. I know they were top with Alkmaar. They are not champions. No relegation. The league just would restart again in September. They've said as this season didn't exist almost.
Yeah.
Right. So is that really what?
Well, that's not going to happen. And the reason it's not going to happen is because in Holland, so many of the clubs said to the league, you decide it. And the league said, all right, we'll decide it. That simply wouldn't happen in this country. Clubs would not leave it up to the Premier League to make that decision.
No, but what if we run out of... What if they simply just run out of time?
Well...
And what I mean by that is every day that goes by and no decisions made when it can be. It's all very well. The other side to it is it's all very well clubs going, right, come back to training, come back to Finch Farm, Everton, come in, don't go in the building, get out your car, socially distance, go over to there and take a ball and off you go. and we'll do training. I can Carlo Ancelotti, I'll stand on my own, and I'll direct you to do different things. You know, have shots from here, the goalkeeper can still save them because you're out.
What?
But if there's no way that those matches can be played, what's the
point in socially distancing and training? If when the minute that game starts, you don't social distance. Like, what's the point?
Yeah.
Like, I'm not being funny. If you're training, so does a decision get made in a couple of weeks where they go, right, lads, we've the rules are slightly changed now, so you can all train together. You've had your 2 weeks training, and now is that what? Do you know what I mean? I think these are the fine. I think what needs to happen is we need to know by the end of the week what's going on. Like, if there's a plan. Like
May, isn't it, this week?
Yeah. So stop leaking stuff through the media and come out and just say, right, we've got a plan and this is what we're going to do. For the next 2 weeks, players will train in the training grounds, but all separate. They'll all do their individual work, and basically that's to acclimatise them back to a training ground and get themselves, and they'll go home, and then they come back, and that's getting themselves 2 weeks sorted, and they'll be individually tested. 2 weeks we get the balls out, we're all in it, and then 3 weeks later we're starting. Whether that be June the 8th, around there, that seems to be the date muted, and this is the plan. And I think, like I said many times, I think when you're in a certain moment, you are thinking about that moment. You don't know what's going to be here next week. Of course we don't. But I just think that, but like this week, we just need to have a plan down, because that's what other countries a little bit further down the line are doing now. But I think that's what we need, and then we can all start coming to terms with what's going on, because I just think at the moment there's just too many voices coming from all different places that have got all individual ways of looking at it, and motivations as well, you know, whether it be Carragher talking about Liverpool, obviously, or, you know, Gary Neville
saying just void it,
saying the opposite, of course. And then, so as I said, I have no personal problem with it restarting and Liverpool winning the league. I'm not arsed. It doesn't. I've got that's not my motivation of not seeing Liverpool win. Honestly, I've known since September they were going to win it. It's not a big thing for me now. So let's just find a way. Let's just find a way to just say this is what we're doing, rather than this is what we might do. No, get a plan together if you've got a plan, and tell the public.
Is it safer though to just say it's done and we're starting in September? Yeah. And then what that does then is it gives gives the world 4 months to.
I agree with that. No, I understand that. But what if we get to mid-June and everyone's like, we're back to normal?
We won't be though, will we?
No, I know. Listen, I'm not arguing with you.
No.
But what if we get to this June and we're like, not back to normal, sorry. What if different people are starting to go back to different kinds of jobs? And maybe like Germany's playing and they're playing behind closed doors, and maybe Italy's playing, and then that's where people...
Our teams can start preparing for the Premier for next season, can't they?
Yeah, well, that's fair enough.
Pre-season. I know the biggest thing has been Italy, because I think I said last week on this, they said immediately they weren't finishing it immediately, and now they're talking about June the 2nd they resume, and you're like, because even though we will be further along, and we'll be like relaxing lockdown, I mean, no one knows how that's going to go. No. That's what I'm saying. If you said, I don't think measures will be lifted on May the 7th, because to me it doesn't make sense next week to just lift the measures. If you then said there's another 3 weeks lockdown, that takes you to the end of May, right? I'm not saying it will, right? But I'm saying if they did, and it got to the end of May, that's given breathing space for this pandemic to... I'm going to come so everything, by then, you would expect it down here, right? Because people who've been with people... do you know what I mean? We should be right down here then.
Let me just say this before we get finished, right? I think a big problem with all of this is how actually our media's reporting this. Saturday, the deaths went up again. So like over 800, right? I seen a terrible, horrible story yesterday on Twitter that I shared with you about someone who works for Southampton.
Yeah.
And this guy literally had got ill in the matter of days and passed away. Someone in his 30s with a 5-month-old baby. And I thought that but over the weekend we had these stories of like life's getting back to normal, and it's like it's not. Who said it was getting back to normal?
Because only 400 people.
No, but that's what I'm saying. It's like there's this narrative of, oh, we're over the worst now, it's fine, and yet.
But that's come from the health minister.
But in other countries, yeah, but it gets played through the media because we're not pushing these people, and yet in other countries, people are looking at our country going, how many people are dying in your country? But in our country, it's like, oh, we're all back to normal, and we need to give a few people a telling off because they went to the park. No, it's like that's what I'm saying. It feels like it's going back to. It feels like people are like, oh, I've come in today and I feel like there's more cars on the road. Like,
well, they said traffic was up 3% last week.
And that's what I'm saying. It feels like people are just like, oh, we're bored of this. Well, you get bored.
Well, they are, yeah.
You're getting bored because the message is slacking off and people are starting to talk about getting back to normal. It's like, I feel like that's one of the big issues is the media. Media like, oh, this is fine and they're doing a great job. And it's like, whatever the job they're doing, whatever, right? But it's not getting back to normal. People are still dying in massive numbers, and the numbers we're getting told who have passed away could be, they're saying 20,000, yet it's probably more close to 40,000. So I think we need to get a bit of a grip on this and start, and that's where the messaging's so important for me, to come out and say what you're doing, but say it in a way that's not little bits in papers that have been leaked to people. You're going to do it, come out and say what you're doing properly and get it down, and then we'll all be like, well, that's the point in the future. And we're heading towards that now.
I think they're just trying to drip feed people so that when they do come out and go, it's June the 8th, people go, oh, well, we've heard that message. Do you know what I mean? Well, I might be wrong, that's just what I think
that's what it is.
But
I just feel like you've been drip feeding people for weeks.
Yeah. But is that to try to show people that we will get there? There is light at the end of it. So I'm not saying it's right. Of course, I'm not saying it's right. I said last week they should be sensationalising everything to make people go, oh my God. But
Psychologists in to actually show them how to talk to people because they don't seem to be getting the message right at the moment. So there you go. Let us know your thoughts. When do you think it should come back? How do you think the Premier League are handling it? And do you think it's right it should come back at all? And as we mentioned, that's not just because of right in a moral way, but right because neutral grounds. Is everyone going to be playing at neutral grounds, or are people going to be playing their own games?
What's the plan? I wonder what the plan is for if it is like late August, September. It's not going to be neutral grounds then, is it? Surely?
Can't. That's a question for another day.
Yeah. No, I'm just thinking out loud with the thing. It's just going. Yeah. It's mad. But
let us know your thoughts in the comments. Don't forget, give this video a like. Subscribe if you haven't already. And if you want more great videos, join us over on Patreon where we do live videos every day. The link is in the description. See you later.